Monster trucks are loud. It's what gives them their notoriously mean and aggressive attitude. But there's a few exceptions to this, and what if I told you one of them was an EV? Let's rewind to 2014. This is the world's only electric-powered monster truck, and it doesn't sound monstrous at all. It's never raced another monster truck, until now. Its challenger, the world's only diesel-powered monster truck. It's a grudge match, and there can only be one winner. Can the EV charge to a victory, or will the dirty diesels smoke out the competition? This is the untold story of the world's only electric versus diesel monster truck race. Most monster trucks get their power from methanol fuel. It's the supercharged combustion of methanol that makes monster trucks so iconically loud. But why methanol? Compared to gasoline, methanol burns more efficiently and can provide a greater power output for the same amount of fuel. And that's important when you're trying to send a 12,000-pound vehicle through the air like it's a Hot Wheels car. Despite methanol fuel's widespread use in monster trucks, there's been some who experimented with other fuel sources. One such person was Dave Ramirez. He unveiled his first diesel monster truck in the late 2000s, named Hush Power. Similar to the EV monster truck, it too wasn't very loud. Now, this wasn't the first diesel monster truck, but it was the first of the modern era in monster trucks, where being fast and agile was a must. And Hush Power was neither fast nor agile. Diesel engines are good for moving heavy loads, but they're not necessarily quick to accelerate. That applied to Hush Power, and when it came time to race, it was far from competitive. The truck got a new name and look a few years later, but the best was still yet to come. By this point, David proved himself as a reliable driver and was hired to pilot methanol-powered monster trucks for other teams. In doing this, he got a feel for what it's like to drive a competitive monster truck for the first time. But the diesel monster truck was still his passion project, so he went back to the drawing board and started working on a new diesel monster truck, one that could truly contend with the methanol-powered trucks. To do this, he secured a sponsorship from XDP, a diesel product vendor. With the new sponsor came an all-new diesel monster truck that was much improved. The XDP truck sported a modern chassis and suspension, and more importantly, a new diesel engine with much better throttle response. XDP still lagged behind the abilities of some methanol monster trucks, but not by much. Over the next few years, Dave continued to fine-tune his creation, making it increasingly competitive and building a strong reputation for himself. In spring 2014, XDP even became the first diesel monster truck to perform a backflip. Dave had proven that a diesel-powered monster truck was feasible and even competitive, but he wasn't the only one experimenting with monster truck fuel sources. BIGFOOT is known as the original monster truck.
BIGFOOT is the finish!
Whether that's true or not is debated, but what's definitely true is that BIGFOOT has created some unique vehicles over the years. In the late 80s, when most monster trucks were made with pickup truck bodies, BIGFOOT Shuttle was created using a minivan body. A few years later, BIGFOOT purchased a tank and created Fast Tracks. And who could forget BIGFOOT 5, the world's largest monster truck? So the BIGFOOT team clearly wasn't afraid to try something different, and their collaboration with Odyssey Batteries was about to prove that once again. BIGFOOT number 20 was unveiled to the public in 2012, and what made it special? This was the first electric-powered monster truck. It's an EV, and possibly the largest one in the world. BIGFOOT 20 had most of the hallmarks of a modern monster truck. Gigantic tires, a fiberglass body, massive shock absorbers, the list goes on. But instead of a thunderously loud combustion engine, it was lined with dozens of batteries and an electric motor that barely produced any noise at all. It's almost surreal, a 12-foot tall monster truck that sounds like a small RC car. As it drives over junk vehicles, you don't hear the truck, but rather the crunching noise of the cars underneath it. At the time, many recognized BIGFOOT 20 as innovative and groundbreaking. After all, EVs weren't really a big thing yet, and most people thought this was the technology of the future. Some even believed electric power was the future of monster trucks, whether they liked it or not. But there was a catch. Similar to Dave Ramirez's first diesel monster truck, the first electric monster truck wasn't truly competitive either. BIGFOOT 20 only produced around 500 horsepower, a fraction of the 1500 plus horsepower a normal monster truck produces. You see, number 20 is fueled by lead-acid car batteries, which is an older, less efficient technology than the lithium-ion batteries that power modern EVs. In fact, lead-acid battery-powered vehicles date back to the 1800s, so theoretically a very crude version of BIGFOOT 20 could have existed back then. Given that number 20 produces a similar amount of horsepower as many modern EVs, but weighs much more, it's bound to be cumbersome when compared to an EV or a methanol monster truck. BIGFOOT 20 was used mostly for small exhibition car crushes and displays, which was well within its ability. Even if it wasn't competitive like the other BIGFOOT trucks, its one-of-a-kind power source made it a sight to see nonetheless. So in a sea of methanol-powered monster trucks, there was one diesel truck and one electric truck. Of course, that beckons a question. Who would win in a race? The dirty diesel whose smoke clouds could be seen from a mile away, or the clean green EV that could hardly be heard from a few feet away? That's exactly what the audience at the 2014 Wayne County Fair in rural Pennsylvania was about to find out. To make matters more interesting, BIGFOOT 20 was set to be driven by Jim Kramer. He was one of the original BIGFOOT drivers and an undeniable legend.
Kramer gets Dennis Sander out!
It's arguably his performances that set the stage for monster trucks to become the global industry they are today, and he's about to be the first ever to race an EV monster truck. Now, Kramer had driven number 20 before at exhibitions, but by this point he hadn't competitively driven a monster truck in a few decades. A legend? Absolutely. But at the top of his game? Respectfully, no. So on a hot August evening, both trucks pulled to the starting line. The race course was simple. Leap over the first obstacle, drive down the track, make a turn, and jump over the finish line. Simple enough. And lucky for us, there's a single, shoddy video of this race out there. Alright, best of luck, may the best truck win. BIGFOOT got off the line first, but once XDP got its power to the ground, the race was over. It certainly wasn't pretty by any means, but the diesel-powered XDP soared to a clear victory. The monster truck event was split over 2 days. The first featured racing, but the second tested the truck's ability in freestyle. BIGFOOT went first, and judging from some images, it appears Jim laid down a pretty modest run. You can't expect much from a truck that only has a third the horsepower as a regular monster truck, driven by someone who stepped away from competition decades ago. Jim did his best, I have no doubt, but it was obvious BIGFOOT 20 couldn't stand up to the competition. XDP was saved as the finale, and sticking true to form, Dave launched his truck up and down the track. Whether he had the best run that night or not, who knows? But if he ran the truck like he normally did, he surely put on a great show. There were also a few standard methanol trucks in attendance, and they performed each night as well. But in my eyes, they were never the stars at this show. This was about two competing visions, and the race to determine which one could reign supreme. That race was nearly 11 years ago, so how have diesel and electric monster trucks evolved since then? Dave Radzira's continued to campaign the XDP truck. In fact, both he and BIGFOOT returned to the same county fair the following year. This time though, BIGFOOT sent a methanol truck and got revenge, defeating XDP and winning the racing championship. In 2017, Dave began competing on the Monster Jam circuit, dropping the XDP acronym for the name Extreme Diesel. But there was a problem. Monster Jam predominantly ran at indoor venues, and XDP's thick, smoky exhaust was just too much for those enclosed spaces. The diesel engine wasn't allowed to compete in Monster Jam, so in a strange twist of events, Dave converted his truck to standard methanol power. The following year, Monster Jam began a partnership with the Diesel Brothers, two internet personalities known for their Discovery Channel show of the same name. They campaigned a truck called and of course, it was diesel-powered. Brodozer released little smoke compared to its predecessor, and was allowed to compete exclusively at large stadiums, which were either outdoors or large enough for the diesel emissions to dilute. Impressively, Brodozer was equally, if not more, competitive than XDP was. Throughout its tenure, it was touted as
the world's first diesel-powered Monster Jam truck.
While that's technically true, I imagine it was painful for Dave to hear after years of building and improving his own diesel monster truck. Around the same time, Dave left the Monster Jam circuit and put a new diesel engine in his truck. This time, it burned much cleaner, which actually allowed it to compete at indoor arena shows. But it just wasn't the same. The new diesel truck had its moments, but Dave was constantly having issues with it, and seemed to miss as many competitions as he made. I personally saw the truck twice, and out of 5 total competitions, it only made it to the track once. In yet another plot twist, Dave began driving for the Bigfoot team, the owners of the electric monster truck he defeated all those years prior. He was placed in Bigfoot's flagship truck, number 21, but this was in January 2020, so that didn't last for long. As the live event industry emerged from the COVID slump, Dave remained absent from the driver's seat, and Extreme Diesel never hit the track again, despite plans to do so. If he had more time to test and tune his creation, could Dave have worked out the issues Extreme Diesel had? It's certainly possible. Unfortunately, we'll never know, as sadly, Dave Radzir's passed away in 2024. To my knowledge, there are still 2 competitive diesel monster trucks out there, one of which you can check out on this channel. Bigfoot 20's story over the past decade has been much simpler. Quite honestly, it hasn't done much. That one race against XDP in 2014 is still the only time it's performed in competition. Number 20 still does occasional displays, but that's about it. As of 2025, it's been a few years since it last crushed cars. While Bigfoot still performs across the globe, they're nearly exclusive to the Hot Wheels Monster Truck Tour. For any other appearances, they contract other monster truck teams to run the Bigfoot name rather than sending their own truck. Unless the Hot Wheels Tour wants to run an EV monster truck, it seems unlikely the electric Bigfoot will ever perform in competition again. To this day, number 20 is still the only ever attempt at creating an EV monster truck. There's been a few monster Cybertrucks, but even those have been methanol powered. A few years ago, another potential monster truck fuel source was introduced when a hydrogen combustion engine was placed inside Jurassic Attack for a display. The engine was touted as capable of producing 1,000 horsepower, which for a monster truck is on the lower end. There haven't been any updates on this project, and it's yet to perform in any capacity. So, could hydrogen power change monster trucks forever? Maybe, but people said the same thing about the electric-powered Bigfoot.
Electric is the future, and now we got electric Bigfoot.
And that just hasn't panned out. More research and development needs to go into hydrogen-powered engines, so at the moment, I'm hesitant to speculate. As monster truck technology constantly progresses, the trucks seem to have become increasingly homogeneous. Anymore, only a handful of fabricators create nearly every monster truck chassis, and even once each team adds their own parts, most are still pretty similar. Oftentimes, one monster truck is just like the next one, with a different fiberglass body to cover it. Undoubtedly, that's because everyone wants the best, most competitive equipment, and the standard mid-engine, low-profile, methanol-powered monster truck can be an incredible machine that's capable of doing things that seem almost physically impossible. But there's something to be said about those who break the mold and try their own thing. It's not easy to forge your own path, but the one-of-a-kind trucks that stemmed from backyard ingenuity and passion projects of decades past are honestly some of my favorite to watch. They're not always competitive, but they're different and creative, just like Bigfoot 20 and XDP. Many people will ridicule an electric-powered monster truck, and some will scoff at a diesel monster truck, but those people miss the point. Neither were about politics, proving the other wrong, or changing monster trucks forever. They were about pushing the boundaries of what a monster truck can do and be. Looking forward, it seems unlikely diesel or electric power will take over monster trucks anytime soon. But that's not to say these trucks or their creators were failures. Monster truck evolution is fueled by creative ideas and experimentation. Important advancements like the cantilever suspension, 3D bodies, and freestyle competition were all once ideas that someone experimented with. Some of those experiments led to innovation, and some, like Bigfoot 20, never quite took off. But regardless, lessons were learned from each experiment, and that's how monster trucks get better. The desire to innovate is what led monster trucks to become the marvel they are today, and nothing displays that innovative spirit better than a single race at a county fair 11 years ago. So, Dave Radzir's Hush Power truck will always have a special place in my heart because it was the very first monster truck I saw. That's me at my first monster truck show, standing with my brother in front of Hush Power. I had no idea at the time, but this really was a groundbreaking truck that laid the foundation for this entire story to unfold over the following years. Alright, that's all I got for now. I hope you all enjoyed, and thanks for watching.